And good afternoon. Thanks everyone for joining my session, especially the AI powered test automation. This is very interesting topic, which is actually very core to my heart, where combinations of AI and test automation. So my name is Suddamalla. I have 25 plus years of experience in IT industry and more than decade, I have an experience, especially talking about test testing, QA, and automation, and all those things in this particular ecosystem. And as part of it, AI is also part of which I do take care of it. So combination of these two, which I've been going through a lot, and I thought of sharing with all these contents with you guys. Thank you for joining. So let's get quickly to the presentation. The what we would like to talk about. So this is a AI powered testing, where we want to talk about the mostly the traditional, what are the current limitations that what we have it, and then we'll talk about how we can try to improve with this AI ML, and then we'll talk about a little bit about test ensure also. So that's what what we are actually talking about. So let's quickly get on to what is exactly the current state of art, right? Where are we now with the current just traditional test automation? So where we are actually trying to do using your seleniums or UFTs or the test ng or cucumber, right? Those are all the things that which we do have. What are the limitations that what we have? So these particular test cases are very much static. What it means is when the changes comes in, you write the code and everything. When there are new changes come in, again you have to go and write the test cases and all those things, which is actually a kind of a maintenance night maintenance nightmare. So the other one is the data that whatever that you would like to get in, you have to prepare that particular data as manually. The problem with that particular manual is it means you are running the same test cases again, with a different test scenarios. That becomes a little challenging because you definitely will be missing a lot of scenarios, and then what it means is coverage might be less, right? So that's what what you are going to get in. The other important thing is, as you know, you are into the software industry, the, the changes will be coming in on regular basis, sometimes on daily or weekly or even monthly. So with the test automation, with the traditional test automation, any changes that are coming in, especially from the UI related changes and all those things, there may be a field that's going to be changed here, or there are some IDs of that particular elements get changed. What you need to do, you need to go ahead and make the changes again with all the changes that are coming in. So what are the challenges, right? The main challenges are because of the static test cases, whatever that you are actually having it, it's going to be high maintenance. You have to work as much as the developer needs to work and making the changes and all that stuff. That becomes a very high maintenance because of all the changes, UI changes that are coming in, feature changes that are coming in. And because again you are actually trying to create your manual test cases, right? The test data preparation, which is a very important step. You are actually trying to make your test automation, your coverage and everything is actually getting limited. And so overall, what does it's going to be? It's actually becoming more and more expensive and more reactive. So it's not being exactly to the automation, what we are actually trying to look for. So what are we doing now? What, because as you know that there are a lot of AI, ML kind of things in Gen AI and all the capabilities that are coming in. The one that I would like to talk about is how all these new changes that are coming in the recent days can be done, for the test automation. That's what what I would like to get in here. So what can we do? So with AI and ML, so we can detect all the UI changes that are coming in. That's called self-healing. So if the fields get changed in the UI, or IDs get changed, or the names of the particular fields get changed, no issue, because there are some libraries with the model libraries which you can have it, and you can go ahead and use that particular libraries and able to detect the changes, and it will fix it automatically. No coding or anything like that. That's going to be looked into. The other important thing is, how can you do that auto validation? So there is a auto validation that can be done. For example, like, it's going to look at the data. I'll just give a classic example of invoice. Like, there is the invoice payment date, and then, like, when there's a due date, right? Like, by looking at all the data, mostly it never can be invoice date can be more than the invoice payment date. So based on that, like, the data that what it can look, it can synthesize that particular data and should be able to get that, so that, like, you are actually not able to take care of all that kind of validations. You can take care of, these are the mandatory fields like which you have it, and this it's actually allowing only these kind of fields. And you can even tell that, like, this is the range of the fields like in which you want to have it. All that kind of auto validation should be able to go and take care of it, like, using the AI and all kind of changes like in which you can do that. And the most important thing, which is actually my favorite, is kind of dynamic data generation. So why it's actually very important? Because, like, it looks at all the data and does the synthesis and make sure the test data can be morely generated dynamically. Like, what it means is, like, it's going to get you the coverage of it to the maximum extent, so that, like, you are covered with all the scenarios everywhere in that particular one. So, and again, like, it's, as you are very much familiar with the Gen AI things, like, that are coming in. The best part is, like, you can convert your business requirements, like, whatever that you do have it, and convert, like, your user stories directly into the Gen AI use cases, into the test cases directly. So what it means is, like, you don't need to write manually of any of that particular test cases. You just give the user stories that what you do have it, and that can generate the test cases automatically, right? Like, what all the advantages, like, by doing all these things is, it's going to be faster authoring. So you can write hundreds of test cases also in minutes, just like that, because of all the UI changes, like, where it can have the self healing and auto generation and auto validations, and using the Gen AI, right? Like, with all these things, you can write the test cases, like, in a very faster pace. And because of all the changes, like, what we are actually trying to get in, less maintenance, like, because of the self healing what we are actually going to implement it, there is no need to go and changes, like, to the all those things which you don't need to try to take care of it. So the next one is, like, coverage of, right? Like, because of the dynamic data generation that what you are actually trying to do, you can do the broad coverage and all those things. That's what we can have it. And because of the auto validation, like, what you can have it, like, so you can make sure, like, you can covering up, and you are doing the smarter validation, which is normally the manual things, like, that might get into, the issue, like, wherever the you, one second. So, introduction, like, this is where I would like to get what are we doing here, right? Like, with that particular test automation and all those things. I would like to make sure, like, which, yes, these are all the new things that are coming in the market, but we are very much onto the spot of, like, trying to do the innovative things, like, by looking at the current market conditions. That's what, like, what we are actually, we started as a traditional test automation kind of things, like with the selenium and all those things, but we are trying to adopt it with the new technologies that are coming in. So we are definitely doing it, like, the dynamic data generation, and also the Gen AI test case generation. You just go and speak to that, and, like, or you can write, you can just plug in your use cases, and what it does is it automatically generates the test cases that test ensure can understand it in a such a way that, like, where you can upload the test cases directly to the test ensure, and you should be able to execute that particular test cases. Just see that, like, how much of the timing and everything, like, that going to get changed. And we are implementing the AI based auto validation. So you just pass in the data, like, to the our model, and it's going to tell us, like, what all the validations that should be looking around. You don't need to have that particular test case. It should be written like, this is a mandatory field, like, can you check all that and all that stuff, like, whether this one is greater or lesser and all those things. Those things were being done, and, like, should be able to go and take care. Healing, self healing, which is an important feature, because I just talk about, like, one of the OEMs, like, which we are actually working on. Suddenly overnight, like, there was an upgrade that was done, like, to the SaaS based system, and they changed all the IDs. And what it's going to become, because we have implemented the self healing here, we are completely okay. but there are some other people like the companies that were actually trying to do with this traditional automation. They have to write completely rewrite the whole of the test automation scripts by changing all that IDs and doing the testing and all those things. So that maintenance is overcome, like we overcome because of the self-healing scripts, whatever that we would like to have. So next is which, that's what what we want to bring in. So that's where where we want to look at the customer problems. One of the problems in which all these problems should I need to write my own test cases, and also should I have to have how can I write the test scripts should be maintained and all those things. So we look at the we always will be ears full looking at the problem statements that customer that's actually coming in. And one of the new ones which we are actually trying to work on is they can just type in the way that whatever the test cases they would like to get in, and we are actually trying to work and interpret that through our natural language processing, and should be able to generate the test cases also automatically based on that. So we look into the problem, and then we apply the solution, and let's apply to the benefits to the customer. So that's all what we are actually trying to do it from the coverage perspective, and um, from the Silotic and Test Ensure. So we are more than happy, to have, go and visit our website, testinsure.com, to get, more from the Gen AI capabilities, and how we are actually being innovative and all those things. And or please talk to us, and book a live demo, our live demo. More than happy to be part of your, you can showcase all these new features that are coming in. And also Mitya, if you want to just make your hands dirty and want to play with it, an environment which you would like to talk to us, we'll be more than happy to give it, so that you can take care of all these changes, and you can look at the features what the test ensure is actually bringing in. Again, yeah, thank you for your time. Thank you for your time, and make sure that uh, so this one, Mitch, I would like to say thank you for joining the webinar, and let's let you think, adapt, and grow. Just like your business, we want like to be part of your business